So welcome everyone. My name is Crystal. I am the director of the Tutoring Center at Los Angeles Pierce College, and I'm also a coordinator for the California Community Colleges Success Network, or 3CSN. And that is a statewide professional learning organization that sponsors this amazing party that we get to throw every Friday afternoon. So every Friday at 3 o'clock, the Peer Educator Hour happens, and folks from all over California and beyond, peer educators, faculty members, staff members, and peer educators can mean SI, can mean tutor, can mean mentor, all over the place, students. We all come together and we talk about how we can create more powerful student-centered learning environments for our students, and how we can empower ourselves by sharing our strengths and building our community. So to that end, every Friday this semester, we've got different folks from across the state showing off their stuff, telling us about their practice and leading conversations about how we can be more powerful together. And so I am super excited about Sarah's presentation today about boundaries within all of our different roles and what all that can mean in all of its different manifestations. So please join me in welcoming Sarah and thanking her for taking on this ginormous topic and breaking it down into manageable chunks for us to discuss and explore. So welcome aboard, Sarah. Take it away.
Hi. Hello, everybody. Hi, I'm Sarah Leinen, pronouns she, her, hers. And I just kind of maybe a little history of the background of this topic is over the past few years, I've been really just trying to focus on setting and maintaining boundaries for myself. And I've gotten better. And this semester has especially been like the reward of all those past years of effort of setting things up. Now, is everything perfect? No. So the reason why I wanted to do this topic is, one, because it's so important, and I feel like us as educators, in whatever capacity we're educators, are not very good at this, because we're drawn to this job because we love helping others, we love doing for others. That really feeds our ego, right? But then it's draining. So it's not the most natural thing, I think, for the people in this group. And so I think it's just something that really needs to be discussed. And then also, since I can definitely improve, I want to steal from what works for you all as well. I guess, admittedly, this is a selfish presentation, so I cannot wait. But let's get started. But yes, my name is Sarah Leinen. A little bit of background of me is I have a master's in teaching and a master's in English, and also a graduate certificate in reading and adult learning. So, I love educational psychology, is just my jam. I teach part-time at El Camino College and Long Beach City College. Yay. So here's our agenda for today, just an overview from 3 to 4, kind of like what happens every week is where we're going to be doing the main chunk. And then from 4 to 4:30 is the optional part where if you're able to stay that half an hour, we'll just do a little bit more. And then here's a breakdown. I'm not going to go into all this stuff because you can read, and then also it's going to be on every slide. You'll see. Look at, there it is. So a little introduction for my journey, and the reason why I'm giving all this to you is because I've had many different roles in colleges and in community colleges, and so I tried to create this presentation with that in mind, knowing that there's a lot of different roles in this room today. And admittedly, a lot of the resources are going to be sort of with the audience of teaching faculty in mind, but definitely tweakable, definitely adaptable. And if you need additional help with adapting, know that I can help with that, because I've been different types of tutors. I've been different types of staff members, different types of classified staff. I've, taught in many different departments. So just a little bit of background, this isn't my bragging slide. This is not my resume slide. This is just the empathy slide. Okay, so we are definitely here on this first agenda point. Here's our outcomes and our community agreements. This is what we're trying to get done today. We're trying to learn about different ways to set and maintain boundaries, create those goals, collaborate on best practices. Remember, I want to steal. Establish empathy and support with others with their boundary needs. Start setting up some systems, and overall have a great time with great people. And so community agreements, this is the same as every week, where please just give your permission to be open-minded, interact, be confused. It's fine. We're all confused. That's why we're here. And then be kind. And if you're unable to join a breakout room, please message Lindsay Lazo in the chat. Any questions before we move on? I'm rushing through because I want to get to our stuff. So if anyone's like, why is she talking so quickly? That's why. All right, if you're not familiar with Zoom, the controls on the bottom, that's how you do chat. Here's how you do reactions. For instance, if you want to raise your hand, that's what you do. If you want to give me some love, there you go. If you want to celebrate, if you think I'm hilarious, just those are the different symbols to help with that. Okay, so in getting into boundaries, there's different types of boundary setting. There is the preemptive strike, setting boundaries before they're pushed. Oh, thanks for the love. There is the setting and maintaining boundaries when they're actually being pushed. Thank you, Crystal. And then there's what happens when what you're trying to do is not working. So these are the different types of boundary settings, and will be the tips that we're going over will kind of balance and be mixed with these three different categories. So kind of getting us into things, I want you to answer this question based on your campus role, and I'm going to put this Jamboard in the chat. Based on your campus role, use this Jamboard to add any boundary tips or tools you currently use and any boundaries you are trying to set. And for anyone who's never used a Jamboard, help is going to be on the first slide. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Is Zoom sharing the Jamboard? Can you see the Jamboard? Awesome. Thank you. All right, so here's how you use it. Here's that prompt again. Here's the instructions. Basically, I would like you to navigate through and find the slide that best represents your role. And then you would add a sticky note with whatever it is that you want to add, and you would move it to the part of the table that makes the most sense. And everything that I just said is right here on that first slide, including a reminder of what the sticky note looks like. Is just look over the different Jamboard slides, and I want to know what similarities and differences that you notice, or just anything else that you want to discuss. Yes, Cameron.
I think one of the interesting ones that I'm seeing a lot of in the tutor one is establishing the boundary of appropriate times to send emails and respond. I think is really important because I've had situations where students have sent either inappropriate emails or they've emailed me at an inappropriate time and are angry that I didn't respond within the time frame in which I told them I wouldn't respond in. Like one thing I have is students email me over the weekend and like, why didn't you get back to me? I'm like, it's a Saturday. I don't email people back on Saturdays. So I think it is really important to set the boundary of like, hey, I am here, I will respond to your emails, but that there is a set time in which that will occur. And then you need to be aware that when you fall outside that parameters, then you're going to have to wait for the time that it does occur to happen.
Right, exactly. And then being firm with that. I mean, yes, they can get upset. Like a feeling is a feeling, but but if you've established your boundary, then that's their choice to be upset. And that's something that I tell myself all the time, because I'm a people pleaser. I think a lot of us are here, if not all of us. And then someone gets mad and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. But then in my head, I'm like, no, that was their choice to be upset. And if they want to continue to be upset, then that continues to be their choice. I've done my part. So if these boundaries are established, and then they need to be sometimes reminded, if they continue to be upset, then they continue to choose that emotion. It's no longer your issue. So release it. And I'm seeing in the chat, I'm seeing practical boundaries around masking and spacing. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we're all in this together. And Crystal says that's such a good point. You're a part-time employee with lots of other responsibilities, but you're also taking on responsibility for others too. It's hard to balance all of that. If you kind of just remember when we were all in grade school, didn't we all think that the teacher lived in the classroom and only existed when we showed up? There are still some people in college that still think that you only exist for school. And so by you setting and maintaining those boundaries, you are then helping them with their human development of understanding that people are multifaceted, multidimensional, and have other, that like them, you have other things going on too. So just an overview of for tip 3 is sort of kind of goes along with what Cameron was saying. Actually, you know what? I'm going to deviate from this slide a little bit and show you something else. I'm just going to go into one of my classes really quickly. This is personally how I like to sort of set boundaries from the get-go. Is, in my classes, there's this link is always here for how to contact me, and it's also how to get help on campus and technology help from, because a lot of the questions that I get, I'm sure you all get the question too, is like something that IT should be helping them with and not us, right? Like we're not tech support. And so, it's all right there. It's all on that same, it's all right here in the home tab. These are like little clickable buttons. I have this throughout the course, but in particular, like the contact info section establishes those hours, like Cameron was saying. And so right here with contact information, there's different ways of contact, like it's straight up from the get-go. Here's a nice way of setting up an email so that I'm not going, wait a minute, who are you and what do you need help with? And then here are different ways of contacting me: through inbox, through email, through established student hours, through just dropping in if you want, or through scheduling a one-on-one chat. And there's information for all of that, like and then everywhere that I can have support, like if students don't know how to use an inbox, instead of asking me somehow, hey, how do I use a Canvas inbox? I have it linked, just preemptively. That goes along with this tip 3 is kind of preemptively answering questions, cutting them off at the pass. If you think a student might ask a question, try to already have it answered. And then here's my availability if they use this option. Here's my availability if they use email. Here's my availability if they do the student hours. Obviously I'm available during the student hour. If they're trying to just drop in and have a chat with me, there's no real availability, but it's probably between 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. And if they want to schedule a one-on-one chat, then they fill out this form. and that this form is linked in the PowerPoint, but just to show it to you, let me just create like a fake stuff. All this is how many of you all get somebody who wants to meet with you and they send you an email, hey, can we meet? And then you send an email back, sure, give me like 3 different or many different options of availability, right? And then they email you back, either they give you a few different options of availability, or many times they just give you one. And then you email them back, you know what, that doesn't quite work for me. Give me some more options, right? And that's like 5 different emails. And that's taking a lot of time. And so the whole thing with tip 3 is let's condense, let's streamline. So when I created this form a few semesters ago, I've been gaining more students to actually, first of all, try to schedule time with me. And then also there's never been like that back and forth anymore. So it's just them filling out the form and then me coming back to them with, this works for me. And that's it. So, you know, maintaining that boundary. And again, you know, it's like, who are you? What class are you with? And what do you need help with? And then I have it where they can select as many times as they want, whatever days they need. The availability is based off of my normal availability for each one of those days. So for instance, like if they're trying to meet with me on Tuesday at 5 o'clock, they can't because I'm teaching then. So that's already eliminated. So we don't have to have that awkward conversation. So that's definitely a tip with that. And any of you tutors out there, you can create this too. If you know, like I would really, it takes a minute, but it saves you so much time. And that's a lot of what this tip is about, is taking a little bit of that time to save yourself a lot of grief later, to save yourself a lot of back and forth later. For any instructors out there, you get those students asking for extensions. This tip helps with that. No, NQA stands for no questions asked. You know you're going to give them an extension, but they might be asking in an email, in Canvas inbox, during class, you know, all these different ways. If you streamline it, they can only ask through this, you know, assignment in Canvas called NQA Pass. It stands for no questions asked. Then it all goes to one place. There's boundaries that are set. There's rules that they have to follow. And you're not missing any requests. So nobody's going, hey, you forgot to give me this pass and all of that. And it stands for no questions asked. Like they don't need to give us an excuse. The extension, the reason for the extension can be anywhere from I fell asleep to, you know, I ended up in the hospital, you know, something terrible, right? Like whatever their excuse is, it's valid. If they need right? Like, it's like, I don't feel like being the judge of what's valid for them. Like, I don't know their intimate lives. And so here are sample directions. You'll see that my stuff is always going to be very detailed. So this is just sample directions because again, I try to just pre-answer a lot of questions. But basically all it is they just write the name of the assignment that they need an extension for and press submit. That's all it is. And so it kind of streamlines that. And then how to just ways to get help. I already showed you, have it be scattered, you know, post in your office, be posted in your centers, where your desk is, where have you. Other ways to get help, because yes, you are all arbiters of help, but maybe the student doesn't know that there's a career center or mental health services, or maybe they just needed that reminder and they're sitting there with you and they're just kind of staring off into space and you're getting that. And that's really helpful too. Instructors, I swear to God, use rubrics. They take a while to set up, but you're just clicking. Tutors, you can definitely use rubrics as well in your own way, where it's just like, hey, this is what's looking good and this is what needs to be improved on, and you're just kind of circling, or if it's digital, then you're clicking, which is amazing. And then planning minimal focused tasks for downtime. So like what I mean by downtime is, I mean, how many times are we in meetings where we're just listening and it doesn't really matter if we're there in that meeting or not, or it does, but we're just listening, right? Like, what can you be doing during that time? Like, I have grading assignments that I usually do while I'm listening, and I'm definitely getting the info. I'm also a student right now in a program, and that's, when I'll be like setting up, I'll be doing like all my printing kind of thing. Maybe lulls between appointments and helping students, like you might just gain like an extra 5 minutes. What can you do? When you're in a waiting room, like at the doctor or therapy, or getting some kind of car maintenance, what can you be doing during that time? When you're in some kind of a transportation situation where you're not the one who's actually doing the transporting, what can you be doing during that time? Or if you are the one doing transportating, is there like an audio thing that you can be listening to? And so kind of doing like that multitasking where there's not a lot of concentration that needs to be happening, because then that helps you have a better work-life balance because you're kind of stacking. Again, it has to be stuff where there's not a lot of concentration that needs to be happening. And then different task examples, like I already said, like easy grading assignments where I don't have to give a lot of feedback, or prepping homework that doesn't need a lot of concentration, like printing, or clicking through stuff, whatever. Ooh, sorry. Okay. Are there any questions or anything that you all want to add about any of this? Yes, Cameron.
I think the no questions asked pass is a brilliant idea. I feel like a lot of students, there's a lot of stress about turning in assignments or work on time, and we have no idea why they might be late on an assignment. And there's usually, it could be something as silly as I overslept. But the fact is, especially in this COVID world we live in, it's a lot. I feel a lot more lenient towards these kind of situations because there's so much stuff happening in people's lives. It's so difficult to even sometimes just show up on a Zoom call for some students. So I like the idea of giving them an ability to not have to have a complete like panic attack over like being late on assignment, because I've been there with students where they are freaking out because the deadline's coming up and they have no idea how they can complete it in time. So I really like that because I feel it helps alleviate a lot of stress for students.
Students do love it, absolutely, and they also it's also I mean, I feel like it's more real world. Like, I mean, let's think about it, everybody. Like, how many times have you asked your boss for an extension and they've been like, okay? Like why are we stricter with our students than real life is on us? And students are getting paid by letters, like A, B, C, D, F, and we're getting paid with money. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. So like, but they do have, let me show you. They do have only like so many NQA passes that they can use, because they're just, we still have to teach regulation. So right now there's 4. I basically will kind of add them throughout the semester, not all at once, when I see when I can kind of feel that students might need another one. And they're all the same. They just click on one and it would say just like start assignment, and they would write the name of the assignment that they need an extension on. And then they would just press submit, and then I get a thing in my dashboard, and then I go in and I redeem it. And it's easy. It's because it's all streamlined. It's all goes into like the same virtual paper pile. It's awesome. Yeah, so I saw another hand. Yes, Crystal.
Yeah, I just wanted to say two things. First of all, I just love the idea of like hyperlinking resources and frequently asked questions into your correspondences to students. I think that that's just fantastic, right? So like if you're going to send out a welcome email to students or an introduction email to students, to have hyperlinks in there, you know, so because like those if you're trying to say everything that you want to say, like your email would be 30 pages long, right? And nobody's going to read that. And so like, if you just want to do a quick and easy introduction for your students, if you're a tutor, like just writing like a 3 or 4 sentence email of introduction with hyperlinks to where they want to find more information, just having all of that centralized in a place so that when student questions come up over and over and over again, you have it, and also having it linked to them, I just think is just such a brilliant idea. So thank you for that. And also about the scheduling thing, I just wanted to point out that Lindsay Lazo said in the chat that they use Calendly. And I put a link to Calendly in the chat as well. And I wanted to know, Lindsay, if you wanted to just explain what Calendly is, just really briefly.
Yeah, absolutely. I can share. So Calendly basically is like a appointment booking type system, but you can link it to your calendar. So in real time, your Calendly will be looking at your calendar and the designated times in which you're willing to have appointments, and it'll open up slots based on, of course, the details. Do you want 15 minutes, 30 minutes? How many do you want in a day, and that kind of thing. So you can make sure you're also not overbooking yourself. And so that might also be a way to streamline some of that booking process, because when students already know this is what's available, I click on that and then, you know, answer a couple questions and register for that booked appointment. And you can have it set up where it sends them reminders too. You have an appointment with your professor. So I highly recommend it. I used it with students and it went swimmingly, honestly.
Oh, that sounds so great. Oh, I'm gonna switch over because Crystal in the chat says that it's free, because everything what I was trying to find all was like, oh, pay us money. And so I was like, I swear I can hack this in Google Forms. So that's what I did. But I love this. I'm definitely going to be switching over. I think that's so awesome. And then one, you know, this is from tip 1, but it goes along with what Crystal was saying, is having a preset, like this is from the preset messages tip. This is an email that gets automatically sent out to to just anybody during like intersession. So like this was what students saw when they were emailing me at El Camino during the winter time. And oh, that should have said spring. Anyway, so this was the email that kind of automatically got bounced back to everybody. And it was just, hey, I'm away. And then here's some frequently asked questions. And it's basically, you know, things like, how do I add your class? When's the first day of class? What books do we need? And, you know, it has all these embedded links with resources. How do I register for your class? And all of that, because I want to guilt-free step away from my desk during break. But I was always checking my emails every day, because I was going, well, if a student's emailing me, I want to be helpful and all that kind of stuff. But this would made it so like I would not be logging in for like a week. And then I would come back and most of the time their question got answered from the bounce back email. You know, and even whether it did or didn't, I always responded to them just to let them know that, you know, I care and already love them. So, but you know, so just kind of going along with that, having the hyperlinks, having those frequently asked questions can be really helpful in any capacity in whatever your roles are. And then, you know, and as tutors, you only have like a certain amount of hours. Have your supervisors support you in setting this stuff up. This is not your job. suggested in a meeting, like, hey, this would be great. And your supervisor will probably like, yes, it would be. I'll do that for you, because they're the ones who get this, who get the salary. You know, if you're only like working 10 hours a week or whatever, then only work those 10 hours, nothing more. You don't need to do any more. They do the like good leadership. Good leadership is where the people on the top support the people at the bottom. In the end, it makes them look better too if they do it that way. Hint to any supervisors that are out there, please. All right, so let's go on to the next part. You're going to be put into breakout rooms, and so I'd like you to discuss any or all of these questions. What are your tips for automating and streamlining your work? What would you like to improve on with automating and streamlining your work? And how may you help support others with automating and streamlining their work? So you'll be put into breakout rooms. I'll put all of these questions into the chat. You'll be put into breakout rooms to be able to discuss. Are there any questions? Back in it. All right, and so I was thinking when we were in, okay, thank you. Somebody sent me a private message about Wanda. This is the Dean of Quarantine. Yeah, she's cute. So I was thinking when you all were in your breakout room, something about NQA passes and how that can be helpful for tutors and SIs and all of that. Is I know that that sometimes when you know, when I've had like an embedded tutor in my classes, they, like, students, you know, sometimes felt more comfortable speaking with them than speaking with me, and that's completely fine, like as long as you're talking to somebody. And they would ask the tutor, hey, you think I can get an extension on this? And because the tutor knew the NQA policy, all they said was, hey, don't forget about NQA passes, here's where they are. And so it was just, again, like a way to have this collaboration, a way to streamline, and then a way to have answers without spending too much time with the answers. That's something that I really tried to reduce. Was I don't want to reduce helping people. I just want to reduce the time I spend helping people. So that was a lot of my like goals, is how can I do that? Like with that specific goal in mind.
It's work smarter, not harder.
That's right.
Exactly. And so let's kind of go to this group discussion. I just want to know, what did you discuss with your groups? What questions do you have with the whole group? And is there anything else that you want to share? Who wants to talk about their awesome partners? You're also free to put things in the chat.
Happen. So I spoke with Enrique and Lindsay Ann, and I think that in terms of like being a peer educator, well, I work as an academic coach. In terms of streamlining, like there are a lot of similar questions because I primarily work with like first year students or first like newly transferred students, so students who are new to the campus. And so there are a lot of common questions that come up, and I do find that like I have to go look up that resource again, or oh, where was that page? So I think having some sort of like document where I'm like reserving all of those links to those common questions could be really helpful. Either because, you know, time is up and I need to go, they need to go, and I can just give them that and they can find it in that guide, or like I can send it to them and see if there's anything on there that they want to discuss or look at together, stuff like that, and also easier navigation for me. So I thought that was a really helpful idea.
And then what's also really great about having stuff like that that's preset, you know, as a document is you're giving, is like the fairness of it all. You're giving this student the same information that you're giving this student. Because I'm like, that's another reason why I created like a list of like common feedback responses. By the way, my common feedback responses also has where, you know, I don't just tell them like you need to improve your thesis. there's resources for how in that. And so, because you know, who I am at the beginning of giving feedback is very different than who I am at the end. And I might be giving different quality of feedback throughout that process, but when I'm copying and pasting, everybody's getting the same high quality because it's stuff that I've already thought about. It's stuff that I've edited over the years and all of that. And so that's, not only is it quicker to do copy and paste stuff, it's quality and it's fair. That's why I really recommend it. Cameron.
So one of the things I commonly had as a course in a tutor was essay-based questions. Like, I don't know how to do X, Y, Z thing in my essay. So I created this worksheet. I typed in the chat before, but it basically, it goes over like, here's what your introductory paragraph should be. Here's what your second body paragraph. It breaks down each of the paragraphs in a description of what should be in that paragraph. And I put space in there as a Word doc so they can type under it, so they can use it as an outline to construct each section of their paper. And at the back of it, it has a citation guide that I just emailed out to people because I don't know how to cite sources. Like, here's how you cite sources. And it even has like comments about like, hey, avoid block quotes at all costs. Teachers don't know, people generally don't enjoy block quotes. They just seem like you don't understand how to process the material. I'm not saying you're lazy, but if you have too many of them, it can give the bad impression of something like that. So I give them this worksheet that has their essay outlined in what each paragraph should be and how it should be structured. And then I have a background that goes over why we need to do citation properly and how to avoid accidental plagiarism.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yes. I mean, please share that in the chat for everybody if you want and feel comfortable. You know, we're educators. We all know about stealing and adapting, right? And so like that. Oh, that sounds so wonderful. And then to kind of even go along with the whole plagiarism thing, you know, a lot of times people don't know that they're plagiarizing. That comes from a place of privilege of expecting people to know what plagiarism is and all of that. And so, you know, having those resources and taking the shame out of it and how, you know, and not being punitive with it where they're automatically like kicked out of school or getting an F, you know, like how can they learn and use this as a way to improve? And, you know, and now that you've learned something, how about resubmit this where it's not plagiarized? Right. So anybody else? And oh, by the way, I know that we're going over. Watch out for. Sorry, let me share my screen really quickly. We're in the what's next, so please come back next Friday at 3. If you want to host one of these, click the link in the chat. Crystal's going to put it in there for proposals for fall 2022. If you'd like to stay until 4:30, we're going to discuss more and play more with today's concepts. And please complete the eval in the chat. Crystal will be putting all of this information in the chat for you. And Crystal, is there anything that you want to say? By the way, nobody's getting kicked out. This is just like the 4 o'clock mark.
Yeah, just if you gotta go. Next week, I believe is an ESL professor is going to come in and talk about linguistic profiling and microaggressions. It's going to be so lit. So come on back. But we hope you stay, and we have more tips to go over, right, Sarah?
Mm-hmm.